Hey everyone, what's up? It's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. You guys, in today's video, we have to talk about some piping hot tea. Christine and Kody Brown of Sister Wives are officially calling it quits after more than 25 years of marriage. And this is actually really major news because while viewers have witnessed the crumbling of these relationships and Kody's various marriages for years. People have suspected that Kody really isn't participating in these marriages anymore. There haven't been any news of any divorces or any breakups, and all of the wives always come back for another season. So it's kind of been honestly sad to watch just these wives in this kind of emotional prison, it almost seems like, but not anymore. Christine is piecing out of this marriage. She is done, and I am wondering, is this going to propel Janelle and Mary to possibly follow suit? Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is what Christine had to say. I saw this on her Instagram and I saw her statement before I saw Kody's. So that's the order that I'm gonna go in. So this is what she had to say. After more than 25 years together, Kody and I have grown apart and I have made the difficult decision to leave. We will continue to be a strong presence in each other's lives as we parent our beautiful children and support our wonderful family. At this time, we ask for your grace and kindness as we navigate this stage within our family. With love, Christine Brown. Now, it is worthy to note that she recently, I think last month, sold her home in Flagstaff and moved to Utah. We saw last season that was a big storyline, a big driving force for her, is she wanted to return to Utah. And what I felt from watching the show is that it kind of seemed like each wife wanted something completely different, that there was no general consensus anymore of what would be the best way to live as a family. So I think this was inevitable. So that is what she had to say. Let's move on to Kody's statement, and I have a lot of thoughts on this. So Kody says, and I saw this on Twitter, Christine's decision to leave comes with a great deal of sadness. We enjoyed many years together and I have a large amount of respect and admiration for her. Although we are moving forward on different paths, we will always remain committed parents. So for me, and I actually started drawing up these notes yesterday when the news came out, so sometimes, it's always oh, we got to put out the content. But typically I like to wait and see if anything else falls into place or any other news comes out before I put out a video. That's just the way I do it. So anyways, I started drawing up my notes yesterday when all of this was coming out. And this, I'm just going to read you what I wrote. So I think a lot of people are surprised that Christine was actually the wife to leave, to finally say, I've had enough, and not Mary, because Mary and Kody's relationship troubles have been a focal point of the series for years, pretty much ever since her catfishing incident, I think. I think stuff was obviously brewing behind the scenes before that, but that's where we really saw that they couldn't hide the fact that their marriage was not functioning anymore. So it was really from that point. So I put that I don't think Mary will ever leave, to be honest, and Kody won't divorce her, but there really isn't a whole lot more that they could do to be less married at this point. That was my exact note. I actually don't know if I fully agree with that statement, because I don't know if Mary seeing that Christine left and that you don't have to be trapped or suffer in a marriage because of a decision you made 30 years ago, 20 years ago, what have you. It'll be interesting to see what she decides, because like I just said, they can't really be less married at this point. And I just wanted to touch on what I find my biggest problem with Kody and the way that he has treated his wives over the course of obviously only what we've seen on the show. But if you go back, I forget what show I was watching. I think it was The Blended Bunch. I was watching it on Discovery Plus, and then like season 1 of Sister Wives just started after like the most current episode I was done watching. And so I watched like 10 or 15 minutes because it's been years, obviously, since I've seen like the early episodes of Sister Wives. And, you know, Christine was pregnant in that season. They were just starting to meet Robin and integrate her into the family. And Kody, the way that he treats all of his wives is so completely different than where he is at now. It's like 180 degrees difference. You know, his opening line in the beginning of the series was love should be multiplied and not divided. And I would say now I would tell Kody that love is not a bargaining chip, and it's not something that you hang over someone's head as a manipulation tool. It's a really nuanced discussion because on the one hand, like we see really high divorce rates, especially in the United States. And I always notice like when you see interviews with couples that have been married for decades, what's your secret? How do you make things work? And one of the biggest things that I've heard as a piece of advice from people that have been married for a really long time is don't give up, you know, don't call it quits too easily. Like you have to put in the work. And while I completely agree with that, I think that you know, relationships, all relationships have to be nurtured. Friendships, working relationships, family relationships, marriages, romantic relationships, all of those relationships have to have participants. So you can't just be a member of that relationship and not do anything. That's not fair to the other person. So on the one hand, do people maybe cut and run too easily, especially in the United States? Objectively, if you look at the statistics, you could probably make a case for that. But at the same time, I don't think that anyone should stay suffering in a relationship that is not feeding you emotionally or mentally. And God forbid it be actually like physically a dangerous situation for you to be in. I don't think that just because of a decision that you made to marry someone that you should suffer for the rest of your life. In my opinion, I think that Mary, Janelle, and Christine have essentially been emotionally abandoned by Kody. And I think that this has been years in the making. I think that he's faked it better with Janelle and Christine. I think it's been completely obvious. I remember last season when Mary and Kody celebrated, I think it was like 30 years of marriage or 30 something years of marriage. He was like, I just don't feel like working on this relationship with you, but I'm not gonna divorce you. So I think that they've been emotionally abandoned, and I think that Kody thinks that he is doing some noble good or that he deserves big kudos because he hasn't divorced these women, because he doesn't believe in divorce, that these are, you know, eternal celestial marriages. But to me, preaching these tenets of marriage and the, you know, just importance of the marriage vows and all of that, I cannot believe that God would want someone to suffer for a decision they made when they were younger. So you make a decision to get married, you either do or do not put an effort into that marriage. If that marriage is no longer sustaining you and you are actually miserable, I do not think that God wants you to live like that. And I think that that is where Christine has come to in her life, that she no longer has to suffer, that is not the plan that God wants for her. You know, this new season that's coming at the end of November has already been filmed. So it'll be interesting to see how this is incorporated. Was this just like Did the network just ask them to hold off before announcing this? Are we gonna see this breakup happen on this season? I kind of feel like we probably will. You know, we all of the wives. Janelle now is living in an RV. I think Mary, I believe she's primarily living near or close to her Airbnb because she's running it. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And Christine now has sold her home in Flagstaff and is moving to, or has moved into $1 million condo in Utah. So these women are making independent choices for themselves. Will the next step for Mary and Janelle be to finally cut the cord with Corey and just say, see ya? It'll be really interesting to see. It's also interesting that Robin, the only legal wife to Cody in the eyes of, you know, the law, is the one that has all of his love and affection and really seems to be the only one that he is participating in an actual marriage with. He spent the vast majority of his time at her house during the pandemic. I don't think he ever saw Mary. And when he went to see Janelle and Christine, he mostly was a big bummer. I remember watching last season and he was like so rude to his own kids. So yeah, like I said, I also noticed that with both of these statements, it's completely Christine's fault. She is the one who left. It wasn't like it was Cody that for years has neglected and manipulated his wives. Like, that's not taken into consideration. He deserves a trophy. He deserves a prize for not believing in divorce, that like everyone should just suffer together. I don't know. So you guys will have to let me know what you think about this news. It's really shocking. I've seen a lot of feedback online that people are surprised that Christine is actually taking this step to say we are no longer together. I hope that Christine finds someone to be happy with. You know, she has her kids, raise her kids, co-parent with Cody, but I wish her all the happiness in the world. I think everybody deserves to be happy and to be loved and to be in a relationship that nourishes and fulfills you. I hope that for Mary, I hope that for Janelle, and I hope that for Robin. Like, we can sit here and criticize Robin, but she also deserves that too, and so does Cody. Just because people are wrong for each other doesn't mean that they can't be happy with other people. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Reality Squad, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Have a good one. Much love.